All right, Lagos, 16 minutes gone past 5. You are tuned in to Business Hub on Smooth 98.1. My name is Joy Ure, and on Business Hub today, we'll be looking at the business operating module of hotels in Nigeria. We'll be taking a look, a further introspective look into Transcorp Hotels as it's released its third quarter earnings, which covers operations from July to September. However, before we get let me just give you a quick rundown before I bring in my guest. So I want you to understand where the numbers are, so you can also understand why we're talking about this and why this is a big deal. So, a quick summary first. Compared to the same period in 2024, revenue increased by 49% to 72 billion naira. Not dollars, oh, 72 billion naira. Just have these numbers in your head, right? So you see how it's been increasing. Then revenue has increased by 49% to 72 billion naira. Cost of sales went up by 22%, and we're looking at 17.2 billion naira. Guess how much the gross profit went up to? Went up to 60%. Now, when you think about that, that is about 55 billion naira. Okay, you may say, okay, all that. Sum it up. What's all that before tax? It comes up to 36%, which is 22.4 billion naira. But profit after tax, which when you look at everything is 45% and adds up to and comes up rather to 14.8 billion naira. This billion naira is not small change. And joining me to make sense of all these numbers, because you're hearing all the numbers, you're like, huh? Okay, what's going on? Well, joining me to make sense of all those numbers is Mr. Adegbe Ogbeh. He is an executive in the hospitality sector and also the managing partner of Lounge One. Good evening and good to have you here with me again.
Good evening. Glad to be back.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Lagos, as always, you get to be a part of the conversation. I'm sure you're wondering, these numbers, where did they just materialize? And yes, we're talking about Transcorp. For those of you who've been to the hotel, you'd understand why this is such a big deal. And hey, we'll make sense of the numbers so you can understand why we're also talking about this. All right, let's get into the conversation. Let's start off with the revenue, because out of 72 billion the company earned, 48 billion naira came from rooms, which is about 66% of the total revenue. So room bookings still the bread and butter of hotels. I just want us to start from there. I think the mainstay of hotels.
Of course, this goes without saying. It says hotel. That's what it says on the tin, right? So perhaps it's not an absolute statement, because you do have smaller hotels. The Transcorp Hilton has 667 rooms.
Mm.
You need to put that in perspective. Yeah. So for them, even if each room was 1,000 naira, yeah, there's significance. Yeah. So we're looking at staggering numbers in terms of just sheer size. I don't think anyone has 667 rooms, right? So it is your bread and butter. Yes, so it is your bread and butter. Smaller hotels may argue that they're making equal revenue from food and beverage or events, or having outsiders, that's non-residential guests, come in and participate in the hotel, whether it's food or drinks, entertainment. But absolutely, the numbers are clear. That's, the rooms drive everything else. But then, we're going to go further down and look at food and beverage. I have my numbers here as well. And food and beverage did incredibly well for the Hilton Group. So yes, it's your bread and butter. And it goes to, not to go on too long, it goes to something else in hospitality, that the core sales point is convenience. So you have to be very careful about what you're selling. Yeah. people get diverted, they get distracted. Maybe they have one salsa night, and then suddenly you were a restaurant, now you're a salsa bar, right? Because you made money that day, and therefore you mix up what your core offering is. But the Hilton is very clear about their offering. They're selling you room space, they're selling you premium room space, and that's what they do well.
Premium room space, for it to have total revenue 66% coming from just the rooms. Woo! Indeed, they know their bread and butter. They're doing great in that aspect.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. When I saw the numbers, I was like, okay. And seeing how many rooms in itself just speaks to how much bookings they get. You know, some people, like you said, they will think, oh, does it really matter how many people are coming to use the room safe? You know, the Nigerian mentality is, you never think that there are people who are renting this out and taking up the entire space. But the numbers are showing that it is happening. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, it's often hard to it's hard for us to often see outside our reality. Yeah, so I mean, even if you had a 60-room hotel, that's a sizable hotel. The 667 rooms, they have 30 presidential suites, right? And they charge in Forex. We'll talk about that a bit later on alongside the questions, but they're able to charge at the maximum premium for Nigeria. Give or take a few boutique hotels in Lagos, because price points in Lagos has no limit. But in terms of the rest of the country and the capital, the Hilton can charge almost what it wants. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I know that they earned about 21 billion from food and beverage, which is where I want to touch, because when it comes to food, it's been said that the cost of food and is notoriously expensive when it comes to this. Can you speak to the food and beverage as a revenue stream in this instance?
I think it's an extraordinary performance. Now remember that the Hilton food and beverage unit is a superstructure on its own. Assuming you're looking at hotel at capacity and 2 guests per room, you're looking at somewhere around 1,300 guests in one building. That's a significant number of people in one place, eating, sleeping, drinking, having conversations, television, power, all this. Food and beverage came up to just under 40%. If you look at the numbers in terms of versus room rate. So you know that this is significant to their income. Yes, but ultimately, the Hilton doesn't charge regular prices. So the coffee you might have outside for 5,000 naira is easily 15,000 naira in the Hilton. They don't operate by normal numbers, again, because they are a premium brand. I'm not going to go so far as to say upper tier luxury, but they're a premium brand. So they can charge what they want. They're dealing with the 5% of society. So food and beverage performed remarkably. But to what you mentioned earlier about the cost of food and beverage, you're absolutely correct. You can lose there very easily, right? Whether it's food going bad, food going missing, there's a lot of losses in food and beverage. It's easier to monitor your rooms. It's a lot harder to monitor your kitchen. It's an absolute science. So those numbers are great. And we have the cost of sales for the food and beverage as well. But it performed, the kitchen department, the food and beverage department performed incredibly well. I'm actually almost more impressed with them than the rooms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What they did wasn't easy at all.
Okay. I like the fact that you spoke to the fact that when it comes to the kitchen can be a bit tricky. Inventory?
Yes.
Oh my days.
Yeah. One thing inventory is hell.
I've been in that space, so I know how it can be very murky. One minute you're thinking, okay, you have this, and Lord help you that the storekeeper also is in on tip-top shape. That makes your life a living hell. But hey, another conversation for another day.
Yes, absolutely.
Now let's talk about how it is. They now have, at least to the best of my knowledge, Transcorp Hotel has added a new 5,000-seater event center. So much so it's
Correct.
earned it 1 billion from using that space. That is amazing, first off. But
It is.
how
It is.
important is extra revenue from an event center? I know how it can get crazy here in Lagos. Does it also get the same way when it comes to trying to get whole space or even event centers in Abuja as well?
Again, nowhere, we had this conversation last time, no one compares to Lagos. There's streets in Ikeja, streets in Yaba that are doing the same commercial revenue as entire districts in Abuja, in other states. This Lagos commercial levels are completely off any of the sort of metrics that you want to compare to the rest of Nigeria and even parts of West Africa. So it's great to have an event center if you have the space, because it does so many things for you as a business. One, clear, 1 billion naira extra revenue. If you compare it to the rooms, it's not terrific. You could almost have built a smaller ancillary hotel just on the side for the same amount.
Yeah.
But what it does as well is that, yes, what you're doing is you're bringing human traffic in. You're also catering to your guests. So it's almost an all-in-one situation. I'm checked into the Hilton, I have an event to attend. It's also in the Hilton. My food and drinks, they're in the Hilton. The hotel wants to keep you indoors as much as possible. And when I say indoors, not your room, but to keep you within the space that the hotel controls. So of course, it's where and where you can, if you can have an event center, if you can run it properly, it's great. And that number is going to jump next year. If we have this conversation next year, you're probably looking around 3-4 billion next year. People are now aware it exists. It's going to compete directly with the International Conference Center, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center. That number is pretty good, 5,000. So capacity events, you have the accommodation right beside it. It's a win-win for everyone.
Honestly, that's when I saw that, I was like, oh my days. Now they're getting into the market and they're ready to play ball, because once you have an event center, you have the accommodation, parking, everything sorted. Tell me, why wouldn't I want to be there? I'm not looking at wanting to travel interstate just to have fun. Everything in one space, and that is actual standard. But do we have enough world-class event centers in Nigeria? I'm not just talking about the Hilton now. Let's look.
No, we don't. We don't. But this is a conversation that is not new to us analyzing these numbers. This conversation has gone on for the last sort of 20 years when we went into these mega events, right? We always had the National Stadium, but suddenly events took on a whole new perspective for Nigerians. I think if you look at 30 years ago, your large events were sort of church crusades, government events, electoral campaigns. But now you have this hyper social environment where everyone has the hospitality aspects, right? End of year Christmas party for massive events. So you're talking about supersized weddings now, supersized concerts, international and domestic. So do we have enough of these events and event centers? No. The reason is clear though. Commercially, it's going to have to be in Lagos. It has to be. And the people who are behind the numbers have said, if we build these centers to the standard, we cannot recover. We can't recover our input. So they will build, they will get better. They will. That's one thing about Nigerian commercial space. It's quite, there's a strong resolve there. But I don't know that we're going to suddenly have, these world-class centers all over the place. They're extremely expensive to build. I don't know that we can afford to sustain them now. I don't know that we can. And perhaps that's why you don't have so many.
Enough of that. All right. We'll talk about how beautiful, and especially we'll talk more about the rental space, because when I see, when you know how it is, you get into a hotel lobby and you see different stores and everybody's selling something. And you're just like, oh my goodness, how much will I have to? Am I going to sell an arm, a leg, and so much more just to get an item from those stores? Well, we'll talk about that. We have a quick breather coming through. Let's take that when we get back in. I can't wait to touch it, because I've been, well, most recently I was somewhere I went into the lobby. I saw something I wanted. When I heard the price, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna come back. Lagos,
Very similar
we'll be
to the
back.
airport. Yeah, very well.
You would think, okay, it's something I can scrape by. It's just no. When you hear the price,
No, 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 no. So these are extraordinary shopping spaces, right? Because if you look at the average room in the Hilton now, you're playing around that 300, maybe $250, $300, all the way up to $905,
okay.
right? So you have rooms from 300,000 naira, which I still think is about 200 and something dollars, all the way up to the presidential, which is about 1.35 million per night. So the rental space is targeted at, look, you're going to have access to, I mean, again,
Premium.
these phrases are abused. Well, you're going to have access to HNIs, it's a very banking phrase. Yeah, again. And the idea is they can afford these items, whether it's jewelry, fashion, um, polo, expensive watches, whether it's high end, a very nice pharmacy. You're always going to have these people say, look, again, remember what I said, you want to keep everybody in one place.
In
So
one place.
why do you need to
Very
leave the
true.
hotel? Yeah, yeah. You want to swim? Go and swim. You need to stop at the pharmacy to get something. Here it is. You want to get a nice meal? We have 6 restaurants. You want to have an event? The event center is down the hall. You want to keep everyone inside. You want to buy clothes? You have something to do? There's a very nice clothing store. It's just on, level L2. So again, the retail experience is part of the hotel experience, is part of the entire budgetary experience. This is where can we squeeze the audience and get the money from them. So I think it only makes sense that they have those spaces. It only makes sense that that's the rent they're charging, because also you want to be a bit exclusionary, which is another side. You don't want everyone in the hotel. It sounds
Uh,
elitist, but
I
yeah, you
know.
don't want everyone in the hotel. There you go, right?
But I
So
get it. I get
yeah,
it.
exactly,
I get it.
exactly, right. So it's the same.
Indeed, you don't
We have
want.
no,
Oh,
you don't. It's a bit like the airport. A bottle of water just right outside the airport could be 300 naira, right? And you just once you cross the airport doors and you pass security, the same bottle of water is 1,200. So
it makes you wonder.
we.
Are you coming for me?
I mean, again, these are hyper shopping environments. The idea is that
Right.
they don't need to sell a lot to make a lot, but they need to pay a lot to be in that space. They need to know that you can afford. And if you look properly, I would say over the last decade, there's been a high turnover of the store brands. It's very hard to see the same store brands in those spaces
Oh
for a
yeah.
decade. Very hard. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Real high touch.
So
That I can attest
it's
to.
extreme turnover.
All right, let's get back in. All right, Lagos. Yes, conversation has been going on behind the scenes. And if you're wondering what we've been talking about, well, you can go to youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos and, just check out what we are or what we have been talking about. Well, you're tuning into Business Hub here on Smooth 98.1. My name is Joy Uri, and my guest is Adegbe Ogbeh. He is an executive in the hospitality sector. He's also the managing partner of Lounge One. We've been taking a look at the numbers that Transcorp has been doing, especially for its third quarter, seeing how the earnings from July till September, third quarter, literally, and the numbers are numbering, if for a better word to use. But it's actually impressive stuff. Um, Before we went on the quick breather, I know that we were talking off the air about the shopping mall, well, the lobby more or less, how it looks more like a shopping mall, and the rents. So the numbers that have come up from the rents, the shop rentals, has come up to 1.3 billion naira.
Correct.
And it makes me wonder though, how impactful really are shop rentals for hotel business modules?
So we could also do a quick look at how much the shop rentals and the space made, and then look at how much the event center made. Right?
Ah, I see.
There you go. So you had 1.3 billion versus 1 billion. But like I said, you can fully expect that the event center will climb significantly next year. If we're able to have this conversation same time next year, you're looking 3 to 4 billion. I don't think that the shops are going to jump so much.
Okay.
We went through an extreme inflationary period. So you could almost put a price on it. There wasn't a lot of pushback. I could just tell you it's the USD or it's inflation or it's the subsidy is gone. So this was an advantage to so many institutions to be able to push their prices up. These stores are a major part of the ecosystem of the hotel. More modern hotels, because the Hilton was built, I think, 30 odd years ago, now have the hotel attached to a shopping mall, not even just a shopping alley. They have a whole mall that there's usually a skywalk or a little entrance, and you walk right into a mall, do all your shopping, walk right back across. This shows you how advanced this model can be globally. So I even think this is just the beginning. I won't be surprised if at some point you have a mall that's accessible from outside of the Hilton, accessible from inside of the Hilton, and you're getting that experience because they're very aggressive about their revenue. 48 billion from rooms alone we're talking that's strong numbers in any currency. So yes, the mall experience is critical to get. Again, just like food and beverage, I don't want to have to leave the hotel for everything. Whatever you can give me within reason from art, jewelry, pharmacy, whatever you want to say, that I can walk downstairs, pick it up and go back to my room. This is something the hotel would like to do. And you can see the numbers are good. These people are not paying rent for fun. Clearly, they're making some revenue. Yeah, they're making some revenue. Yeah, because the rental is, like we said earlier on, the cheapest room in the Hilton now is about 300,000 naira, circa $250, $270, all the way up to $905. So these are it's not cheap. It's not hyper expensive, but it's certainly not cheap to stay there.
Now let's talk about the rooms.
Yeah.
Really, what goes into the cost of maintaining rooms? Because from the numbers, it states that they had 6 billion for the third quarter. What goes into maintaining rooms to the standard that was supposed to, say, okay, there's a standard?
So I think there are three sides to that, three answers. So first of all, there's the human element, right? You have your cleaners. And if we go further down, we'll see the staff cost. It cost them, I think, 4.1 billion or something, or 4.2 billion in staff emoluments, salaries, whatever it is. So you first have staffing. You need staff to clean your rooms, to dress your rooms, prepare them in between guests coming in and going out. And that's critical. They need to turn the rooms over quickly. They also need to be able to make sure that, yes, that there's a uniform standard when you walk into your room each time, at every point in time, right? Then secondly, of course, you have your daily consumables, which is soap and toilet paper, beverages, the fridge, water, those, yes. Then, of course, which is where a lot of hotels run into trouble because they don't prepare, but the Hilton clearly has, is that major makeover. At the point where your mattress has run its course, curtains need to go, electronics need to go, bathroom refresh. Yes, these items are, that's the major do-over. Because at this point in time, the hotel room has run its course. I need to refresh the room as a whole to be able to charge you the same amount. A lot of hotels don't prepare for this period, and they run into trouble. So it's threefold, if you ask me. Humans, the usables, consumables, and then of course that hard reset. That's very it's paints. When you flip a room around, that there's a cost to that. There's a cost to that.
And really, it goes to show, because if you're one who's traveled, there's certain standards you're expecting, and man, when you don't get it, you're wondering what exactly is happening here. You're getting to a hotel.
Exactly. Why are you charging me the same?
How is it that I'm supposed to be asking you to provide me towel. It should be standard. Why should I be calling reception to tell you that I don't have toiletry? It's just standard. But hey.
So bed sheets, towels, and pillows are a critical element for a lot of travelers. And often you hear people, it's a running joke. I try to stuff the pillow into my suitcase to take it away.
Yes,
And you hear things like, oh, I always take towels when I check into a hotel. And this cost hotels for a long time. But now we know if you take the towel, we have your card that's swiped and we will simply bill you for it. So again, these are all consumables. It's a high turnover environment, different human beings coming through rooms daily, right? The Hilton is almost always booked. So there's three, not to beat the horse, but the human element, the consumable element, and then the hard turnaround when we change the room, when we take everything out of the room and make the room new again. That's probably the most expensive in terms of a one-off cost.
Anyways, that's something worth looking into. And now let's take a look at the well, I was going to touch on the food, but we've touched on that a bit. But I want to just ask, with the numbers we saw with the food, does it speak to the high cost of food in Nigeria, or is this just the standard? Because food and beverage went up to 10.9 billion, which you can approximate is 11 billion, more or less. So does it speak to the high cost of food in Nigeria, or is this just the standard thing with how they're trying to maintain certain standard?
I think it's both. So let's look at that, right? So it cost them 10 billion to make 24 or 21 billion, right? Or let's say 11 billion to return 21. By any metric, that's excellent. They doubled the money by any metric. Okay. And we know that food and beverage can run you into trouble. You suddenly realize you spent 11 billion, but you're running at a loss. So again, my hats off to that department. They did excellent work between ordering the food from the market, getting it to the guests, making sure they were paid for the food, and making sure they were able to replenish their stock. They did a world-class job, so honestly. Now, remember the Hilton, these are hyper prices. You can have a meal that they're not. They're not. You could have a meal there for 60,000, where literally just outside the hotel, you would pay 20-something thousand for the same meal. This is, it's to their advantage. So
I know we flogged the word, but you're saying you're paying for premium.
Well, yes, you are. You're paying for the premium environment, premium service, premium food. It may not be the best tasting food in the world. Hilton does have nice food, but you may find that what you're paying for is you can pick up the phone, you call, they bring you up your food is nicely designed. Yes, so they did good numbers. 10 billion, 11 billion for 21 billion. That's very good. That's very, very good. It could have been higher, of course, but it's very good numbers.
Okay, so how do you expect hotels in Nigeria to perform as we're looking towards the fourth quarter? Yeah, we're already in October, almost out of October, November and December, which is like the dating period, so to speak.
Yeah,
what is the expectations for hotels?
Again, I think we all know they're going to perform quite well, only because we're going to holiday season. People are coming in from out of the country. We have this hyper dirty December mentality, even if in reality, it only affects certain states. Doesn't affect everyone, right? This is another myth. Yeah, exactly, right? So you will have, of course, hyper travel, hyper check-ins. You also have the wedding industry, which is directly going to impact hotels.
Yeah.
A lot of people choose this period, yes, for their weddings, end of year party, so hotels will certainly enjoy this period. They're going to be able to charge two things, charge more, and also have great occupancy rates. And of course, food and beverage, right? Because we're celebratory, we're not checking our pockets so much. We're a bit like, life goes on. And so, which is why people wake up in January with regrets. Yeah, YOLO, there you go. So hotels will certainly have a good. I expect the Hilton to be jammed, but I expect Lagos hotels Calabar, maybe a bit of Port Harcourt as well, to be absolutely full. If you haven't booked before now, you may not find a room. You may find Airbnb. Yeah, but Lagos numbers will be astronomical, just insane for 30 days. That's what they'll be.
Sometimes I don't look forward to it, but I understand what it is you mean. Well, we've always run out of time. Before I let you go, final words. What are firms like yours expecting to look forward to? The type of business for the fourth quarter. What are your expectations?
Pretty much same as anyone else who's in hospitality. We expect higher numbers, higher human numbers, higher sales numbers, higher profits, hopefully. And of course, with an eye to January 2026, paying the last version of this tax. So that's what we're looking at for. That's what we're looking at for the end of the year. Yeah, but everyone should have a good time. There's a little bit of a recovery already. People have sort of adjusted to the new prices, so we should smile a bit, even if we're not laughing.
All right, Lagos, that's so much we can take today. It's been an awesome time as always. Thank you once again for giving me your time and sharing all this insight. So how can Lagos, maybe not just Lagos, but anyone who's listening now, how can they reach out to you? They want more insight on hospitality business. They are looking to improve on what they do, but they're maybe shy to speak out now. So where can I reach out to you on social media and catch up, or if it's
my handle is my first name Adegbe, and the initial of my last name. So Adegbe O. So ADEGBEO, Adegbe O, and my handle is the same across social media. So you can find me anywhere from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm there. I'm not on TikTok. I don't understand it, but I'm on the older ones. Adegbe O. I'm there.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for all that insight. And Lagos, I hope you had a very fun time, because I did. Well, there's more lined up for you, music and everything else. So if I were you, I wouldn't move a muscle. Stay glued to your radio, Smooth 98.1. Smooth 98.1 for intelligent talk. Oh, now that was very, very interesting.
Yeah,
thank you so
very
much.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thanks for having me on. And these numbers are phenomenal. Like, I'm going to have a deeper dive later. They're incredible. They're incredible numbers.
All right. Take care.